Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within. Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows, everyone. Over to you, Dr. Bigot. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Numsa, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and depending on where you are and when you listen to this. And have you ever experienced a loss in your life? If you are an adult, chances is you have an experience, and even perhaps if you are younger, chances you've experienced a loss. Perhaps not a person, but you might have experienced loss of a pet, maybe even a loss of your favorite toy when you were young. Losses is part of life. And the question is, how can we experience loss without becoming lost? And that is what I'm here for you for. I am a grief transformation coach, speaker, and author. And I'm here to help you such that you can a lot easier, navigate your journey as you go through change. And actually, change is a loss. Change usually happens because something happened, it's no longer happening, so it's a loss. So as you go through change and you go through losses, such that you will feel a lot more confident and a lot more ease and come up triumphant in the way that you see it triumphant, with a lot more ease and a lot more fun. And so that's what we're here for you today. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bigot. So our topic today is how to prepare yourself for the death of a loved one. So I don't know whether we can prepare that. I'm not a qualified coach. So what do you think about this, Dr. Bigot?
So how you prepare yourself for, I think there's two parts for today's topic, how you prepared yourself for the death of the loved one and how do you process the loss as well. So the first part is preparing. Yes, to a degree, you can consciously and choose to prepare for that, such that when things happen, and unfortunately, it depends on where you live. Here in the United States, I'm in Los Angeles here. We say, at least in the United States, there are only two things that's certain in life. And the first one is taxes, if you tax if you live here in the US. And then the second one is death. And my background is in veterinary oncologist. I'm a board certified veterinarian oncologist. And many times people come and say, oh my God, are we going to die? I'm like, in a strange way. But yeah, that's the only two things certain in life. And of course, at the same time, it's not something that we all look forward to happen. And so there are ways to prepare for the loss of loved ones and the death of loved ones. And there are a lot of logistic ways, so to say, something in the vicinity of many people here. And I imagine different places, different countries, different background might has different availability. And so you will apply to what's available for you. But for an example, logistic part, we're talking about logistic part, and there is a twofold part on preparing for death of loved one. Now, the first part is the easy one, so to say, which is the logistic. And for instance, in here, you can prearrange with funeral homes such that, okay, when I passed away, this is what's going to happen. And you can even pre-purchase if you choose to be buried. There is such a thing, you could pre-purchase a plot such that your loved one don't have to deal with all these financial expenditures when you passed away. Or perhaps you know that somebody is becoming ill, someone you care and love about, and you take care of this in advance. For instance, you have elderly parents, for instance, and you talk with them ahead of time and says, okay, so what would you love to happen when this and that happen, knowing that at some point we all will die, not being gloomy and anything, but or anything like that, but it's just a fact of life. So you can prepare all this logistic ahead of time as much as you possibly can. It's just a fact of life, and that way, when things happen, you're not running around and says, oh my goodness, what the heck I'm going to do, and I have absolutely no idea. Just to give you an example, my father would love to be, he would love to continue to contribute to humanity even after his passing. So it is his desire to be able to be his body, his remain to be donated for medical use, for medical school. And when I hear that, I said, excuse me? First I said, excuse me, what the heck? And then the second part of that, I said, I have no idea how you even go about that. So I look it up. So that's the logistic part of things. And I don't know, is there such a thing that available in the UK, Numsa, where you can do something like a pre-planned, pre-bought plot and so forth?
Oh yes, you can pre-plan your funeral in the UK. You can actually plan everything, how you want your funeral to go, how you want to be buried. But all that stuff is actually amazing how things are at the moment. But emotionally, how do you prepare yourself? The reason I chose this topic, I actually met someone who lost their spouse a few days ago. And she said, Nomsa, he gave me a goodbye kiss 3 years ago and going to work. And then he died in a car accident. And that was it. That was the last time I saw him. But emotionally, this girl, she's been struggling to cope. She said, even meeting spouse that cannot accept her has been tough because she felt that her late man loved her so much. And she even tried to have, she even had a plastic surgery, basically thinking that she was not good enough. But she said, I was excited when I had the plastic surgery. I thought I'm going to feel different. Things are going to be different. But she said, I still feel the same. I still feel nothing has changed. And I said to her, do you regret having your plastic surgery? And she was like, no, I don't. But I don't feel anything. I don't feel different. I even thought things are going to be different. And how people look at me, they're going to be different. So I said to her, can I have a look at the pictures of your old pictures of how you looked before? So her plastic surgery was really, really good because it didn't change anything about her looks. She just changed the shape, but she still looks the same because I couldn't recognize on her. She still looks beautiful. She was beautiful before, but he sort of twisted everything for her not to look completely different. So, which was smart. The surgeon was really, really smart. So I said to her, you still look beautiful and you still look the same though. I hope you're not gonna do more. She said, yes, I know, but she is stunning when you look at her, but you can tell that she had a plastic surgery. And she said, but inside, in my inner being, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So how do we prepare ourselves emotionally?
And that's
not easy.
Yeah, and that's the second part. That's the second part. So the first part, that's why I said the first part is the easy one. The logistic part of thing. That's easy. As much as you say, what? Really? That's the easy one. The second part is preparing your emotional self, and how do you do that? And to a degree, there is way you can prepare for that, and I'm going to share in a moment. But just know this: everybody is different, and to a degree, there is no 100%. You cannot put a shield, so to say, such that, oh, if this happens, I'm not going to get hurt. Why? Because if you truly put a 100% effective shield, then it will disconnect you, and you don't want to get disconnected. I have many people who come to me with grief and say, from now on, I'm not going to be so attached to somebody anymore. I'm going to love someone so much anymore and all this thing anymore, so I don't get hurt. And I said, then you're not going to experience life to the fullest. Part of life is actually to experience things and then to know and have the tools and support to easily navigate through it. And so now, how there are a couple of ways to help us prepare to a degree. And the first and most important, a lot of people come with regret. And so if it is something that is one thing that I say to help you prepare for in a way, is to actually to not have regret. It's something that you do the very best you can. I live in California. We like California is prone to earthquake. An earthquake is unpredictable. You never know when it's going to happen to a very good degree. And so, just like preparing for earthquake, we prepare as much as we can. We say, okay, you have certain amount of food and this and that, and water and this and that. And at the same time, you cannot 100% prepare for earthquake. And if it's earthquake, you want to never be touched by earthquake. You basically don't live in an area of earthquake. And with life, then if you want to shield yourself from it, again, you would not be living your life. But you could prepare such that you don't have regret. And that is by doing what it is that your heart called you with this person and for yourself, and to also express your appreciations. A lot of times those regret, those incomplete come in the form of, I wish I have visited her that week when I thought about visiting or making a phone call. I wish I have done this with that person. I wish I have done that. And it's very easy to allow life and busyness to come into our life, and such that we got trapped in there. And when something happened, we say, I even have somebody with a neighbor, not even a loved one, a neighbor that they live next to each other for almost 10 years. And they say hi in passing, and she's very busy. And so every time the neighbor said, hey, we're doing this kind of thing and that kind of thing, and she said, oh, thank you, I'll be out of town, oh, I'll be doing this. And she never participates, and she knows that it's a very nice neighbor. He's a very nice neighbor, helpful to everybody, including to her. And when he suddenly passed away from heart attack, she said, oh my God, I wish I have even taken one afternoon to get to know this person. And so what is it that you know that perhaps it's your loved one, perhaps it's your neighbor, perhaps it's your pet, that you say, if I don't do this and something happened tomorrow, then I would regret it. And if that's the case, then go ahead and do them. And the same thing with yourself, actually. What is it that if tomorrow is your last day, not that we're not trying to live in a doomsday mentality here. There's a difference between that. But what is it something that perhaps I want to get started and I haven't get started, and what if you hear a diagnosis that you only have this many months to live in this world, then what would you do? And time to get it done now. And so I would say to minimize the potential for regret by living life and actually embracing life. If you shield yourself and not want to be attached and not want to love so you don't get hurt, you will still have the regret when the person passed, because your regret would be, I wish I have allowed myself to love this person. So I would say allow yourself to love and appreciate, and take your time as much as your heart calls you, is one way to prepare emotionally. And there are certain grief, certain things that just it impacted us so much and it's so unpredictable that the other part of that is, which is the second part of this discussion, how do you process it? And that leads us to the next part. But do you have any thoughts? What's your thoughts, Numsa? You are muted.
I like the part when you talk about regrets, because there are so many people, when our loved ones pass, we're being left with regrets that I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. Sometimes you have questions that you wish you would have asked and you don't ask. So I think it's very, very important to actually, when somebody, but it is difficult, Dr. Bigot, basically when the doctors tells you that your loved one, they have this much time, we can either switch off and go in denial, or we can actually appreciate, like what you're saying, that we appreciate every moment we have with that person. But sometimes it can be really, really, really difficult, because for me, my father was given 1 week basically to leave. And I remember him, I'm in the UK, him telling me that, Nomsa, I'm leaving the earth and there is no way that I'm going to survive. And I'm a Christian myself, and my father was a very, very strong man. And hear him saying that, it was difficult. But I went into denial. I put a shield on me, and I refused to accept it. And I said, no, you're not dying. But he kept requesting, because he was in a hospital. We kept talking each and every day that he was leaving, and he kept asking the questions that he wanted to ask. I kept asking the questions. But at the time, I was in that place where I didn't believe it was going to happen. And that's when I realized that sometimes you have to basically, that moment when you are told that this person is leaving, because some people, we don't get a chance to know that they are leaving, they die instantly. So that can be difficult. And we had a death in our church where one of our church members, she was lovely, she's got twins, they are 2 years, and come to church today, and then tomorrow you get told she died in her sleep. Even though that person is not my family, but they're church members, so we become family. I was hurt that she just went like that. So I think we just get hurt, like what you were talking about, the neighbor. We get hurt. But for me, it was the time, because I talk to everyone, but every time I go to church, I will ask how she was, how the kids were, and I would talk to her parents and find out how they were. So it gave me that closure, that being the person that does not judge people, I got time to get to know her, but at the same time, I got hurt how she went. So it made me realize that actually there are no guarantees in life. Like Ngozi Talk Show says, there are no guarantees. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. So we just have to live that life every moment, embracing every minute. Like what you are saying, when we hear that our loved ones are going, sometimes the doctors can get it wrong, but if we know that there is no way that they will survive, just embrace everything, like what you were saying, and appreciate every moment, every second with them. So it can be tough.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear about the process of everything. What is the right way for the process? Because for me, I remember now I'm dealing with my dad telling me that I've got 1 week. And then I remember my mom calling me saying, Nomsa, where are you? I was like, I'm at home. And she was like, sit down, go find a place to sit down. And I was like, why? And she was like, your dad is gone. And I was like, and she knew how much I felt about my dad. And I was like, I went to in denial again. The shock, basically, I went to that shock where I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. I basically froze. My mom kept talking. And in the house, I didn't tell people that my dad is gone until the end of the day, where I kept sending messages asking my mom, is he gone? And she kept saying, yes, he is. And then I was like, maybe now he's gone, he's not coming back. So that's when I decided to tell people. But the process is, it's like somebody shooting you in the gun with a gun, and then instead of feeling the pain, you're paralyzed by that shock. You can't feel anything. The feelings are gone. And then they come back again. When they come back, it's like somebody's putting a stabbing pain into your heart. And I'm just describing my own pain and how it was. But then I went to a second stage where I had to remember the memories. Now I was holding the memories. I was holding something that once existed that was no longer there.
Yeah. It's beautiful questions, and I my heart goes with you for your loss, and anyone who has experienced a loss, who particularly if it still pains you. And it's a beautiful questions. How do you prepare? What's the right thing to do? You say. Well, the first answer for that, when you have a loss of a loved one, your parents, your other people who, or even pets who are a lot dear to your heart, or anybody or anything, and it could be even a loss of a figure who you admire. The first answer is there is no right or wrong way to go about it. And that's sometimes the biggest so-called things that make people feel even worse, is because they're being told you should do this or you should do that and this and that. And really everybody process things differently. And so there is no right or wrong way on how. Feelings are just feelings. Everybody process feelings differently. Everybody feel different things differently, even if you are at the very same moment witnessing something. And so what comes to you, the one that is most helpful way is to allow what it is that come to you when something so impactful happen. And for some people, it might be crying and bawling and rolling up in a ball and crying loudly. And for some people, depend on how you process things, you might, just like with you, Numsa, it's in a way it's a denial, and in a way it might be like a survival mechanism as well. We know the fight or flight thing. The one who has over the years, I notice people who has on a day-to-day basis has more of a fight mechanism than a flight mechanism. We have more tendency of this. Okay, I'm gonna numb myself up because this is an adversity. This is something in your reptilian brain would want to fight. guess what? If you're running and if you're crying and you're doing all these things, you're not going to be able to fight. So the warrior in you say, okay, everything shut down. I'm going to be strong and I'm not going to cry. I'm going to fight this. And then over time, it might seep in that, okay, there is no fighting in this one. And then that's when I will take the step back and allow myself to feel it. Now, some people process differently. Some people say, oh, okay, my way is to go and cry. And so, and many times we might go back and forth between those, going from in a numb and fight mode to, and not even, it's not because you're consciously trying to fight, but it's more of, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, and got to do that. That's why a lot of people who's really close loved ones say widower. Many times they come to me and say, well, you know what, the first 3 months or the first 3 weeks at least, I just moved through the motions. I barely cry. I just like, okay, got to call this family member, got to call that funeral home, got to call the accountant, and they just go. And there was barely any tears. And then after that, everything gone home. They go back home and they say, oh my God. And that's when they allow themselves. And some do it differently. So there's one thing I would say is there's no right or wrong way on that first moment. The best way, that the most helpful way is to allow you to be what your heart called you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bigot. I like it when you say sometimes we go to you go to a numb mode or fighting mode, because we don't want to face the truth. Sometimes it can be tough to face the reality of whatever is happening. And you talk about sometimes everyone is there giving you advice, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. But to be honest with you, I think 10 years ago, I'll be one of those people who'll be giving people's advice. But since now I realize with my own feelings how I process things, I realize that no advice can actually help you unless you speak to a professional that can help you with grieving. So just be there for somebody, I think, is more than anything that you can do, and just ask them what you can do for them instead of telling them this is how you should grieve. This is how you. I remember one of my friends, she was really, when her mom died, she was really getting upset, and I was like trying to calm her down, but then I realized that I don't know the pain that she's really going through, and I sort of left her alone to grieve, because that is the best way for you to actually, when somebody's grieving, you leave them alone, and when they need you. So I was like, you know where I am if you really, really need me, anytime, or even midnight, 1 a.m., please call me, but I'm here for you. So that's all you can do basically to help someone. And just if they want to scream, just let them scream, basically not telling them what they should do, what they shouldn't do. So I think that is the best way, not to give people advice when they're going through grieving. Send them to a professional. Yeah, send them to a professional. I think that is the best way. And it is the tough. I think the processing of everything is the toughest part, because I know with me, it took me a long time to actually, but when I started using the memories, I realized actually he would have wanted me to be happy. And that's where I got my breakthrough, to accept it, that he is gone, he's never gonna come back. But I shut down, even visiting home. I knew that if I go home, I shut down completely. I didn't visit home for a few years, because I knew that there was something that was missing in my life. And I was very, very close to my dad, and my stepdad both decided to die. And it was big part for me, because when I go home, I'm used to going to my mom's house and saying, "Dad, where is Dad?" and going to my daddy's house and Dad, and that was no longer there. And my family understood what I was going through as well, and my mom understood, my siblings as well. They actually understood what I was going through, and they just let me be me. But now I've accepted. When I talk about it with my children, there is no day where I feel upset. I know that he's gone. I speak about his memories, and I'm happy that, because I let myself grieve properly, and that's why I will never ever tell anyone that you shouldn't do this. But as long as you make sure it does not drag on for a long time.
Right, and so that's the other part of that. Some of us able to process it the way that, and everybody I say the feelings, as I mentioned in the book, which has a lot more information for this than what we can cover in this 1 hour. But feelings is like your feelings are like your fingerprints. They're meant to be unique, and if you even look at your hand closely, each hand, each finger has different prints than the next one, and that's to say that your feelings also change moment to moment for the same event. Like you said, you might feel this one moment, the next hour you feel differently, and so forth. So and when somebody who is close to you, somebody, a friend, a family member, a colleague who is having a loss, then the best thing a lot of time for people, or for the years, we know that to allow them to feel that you are there for them, and it's not giving advice, but it is actually to be present. And if they want you to help them with something, help them with something. If they ask for an advice and you know what to say, yes. But if they don't even want to be hugged, don't hug them. Some people don't like to be hugged when they are and then also, we don't want to assume people. Sometimes we say, "Oh, you got to be feeling really, really sad," or "You got to be feeling this way," and we never know people. Some people who has been, say, caretaker, a lot of caretaker has a sense of relief when the journey complete. And if you sit there and say, "Oh, you got to be really, really sad," and they don't feel really, really sad, and they feel relief, you actually can potentially make them feel guilty. And we don't want that, do we? And so we want to be present, and then with ourselves, a lot, like you said, Numsa, I love that you just allow time. You allow time, and at the same time you're taking action, because time itself doesn't heal everything. If you have a broken leg, for instance, in this case you have broken heart, but let's say you have a broken leg and you got a broken leg, you go sit on a sofa and you say, "I'm gonna give this leg time." Do you really would your leg heal well and smoothly and efficiently? Probably not. And the same thing with broken heart. If your pain continues to continue to be with you, and particularly if it has been months and years later, there is a term of unresolved grief. And sometimes, just like with an actual injury, let's say you got an infection and you let it sit and you let it sit and you continue letting it sit, and you try, in your earlier example, you got an infection in your chest, but what you do is you try to do surgery on your face and not address your heart. It's not going to resolve it, and over time it's just going to get worse and worse, and it's actually just like an actual infection. it will start influencing everything that you do in your life, and so much so it can become toxic to you, so to say. And so that's something that and everybody has a different process, so to say. There's no one size fit all, and that's when you want to allow support. That's when you want to allow support, like you said, from professional, whether it's from myself, I'm a grief coach, or from somebody else's whom you trust. But if you tried something and it doesn't work, after a while it's kind of like trying medication, right? And you tried something, it doesn't work, then please don't hesitate to try something different. I created something that called Dance Away Sadness, Move Beyond Your Grief, which is to help us release the part of grief that words cannot touch. And for some people, you need something like dancing or painting or something else. In addition to just counseling. So find something that works for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bigera. So I saw I think we did show one of your videos, Dance Away Your Pain. So I think it is a good idea. And I like it when you say feelings are like fingerprints, because your feelings are unique. So you can't deny them that pain. If they have to go through that pain for you to be healed properly, you have to let them face it. Because like what you're saying, if you don't face the pain properly and your feelings, when your heart is broken, that will result you falling into substance or plastic surgery. Like this girl, she said, Nomsa, I thought I'll feel different, but I don't. And I said to her, you are beautiful. You just have to know that. You have to. And she was like, I did all the preparation thinking that when I wake up, things are going to be different. But when I woke up, it was the same reality. So I was like, yeah, I think we are learning from all these things that we think that are going to help us, but they don't. I think you working on your inner being and accepting your feelings and working through them, going to the other side with your breakthrough, I think that is the only way. Because for me, it took me a long time, like a year, for me to grieve properly. And then in that way, it was gradually a few years. I think it was, let's say, 10 years for me to fully accept the death of my father and talk about him gracefully, or my stepdad, and talk about them gracefully without having tears in my eyes. So it took me that long time, lots of meditation and lots of psychology talking and motivational videos, and having people around you every day reminding me that I have to accept things for the way they are and let myself, the process, go through my emotions. I think that is the only way. But those who are struggling to Biget, what can they do? Because not everyone basically just find it easy just like that. Those who are finding it easy sometimes is those who are putting a shield, like I did. I put a shield for a little while.
Yeah, and so a couple things with that. The first is one thing you mentioned, that you are able to talk about it, about your father, without having a tears now, which is wonderful and which is awesome if that's what's best for you. I do want to clarify that for some of us, even after 20, 30 years later, or 10 years, it is normal. It is absolutely normal if at times you still feel sad. At times you still tears up. You still have tears coming down from time to time for somebody whom you lost. For some of us, we might still tear up, and after 10, 20, 30 years, everybody different. Some don't, some do. And so don't let it such that you feel bad if you say, But mom passed away 20 years ago, and it was close before Christmas. And 3 days before Christmas, I still every year feel such that, oh my God, I miss mom. And I look at certain thing and I just still tears up. And that is being normal, that is being human. What you do not want, which take us to the other questions you have, is such that impairs you. Relationship, there is a saying that relationship never end. Even if the physical relationship has ended, if it still come in your mind, and you have, many of us has experience on things we have forgotten for years, and then it suddenly come back in our mind in a relationship. Say your grade school friend, and you you don't even think about the person for years, and then you hear something and you have, oh my God, that's make me think about such and such. And you might even forget the person's name, but you make me think about such and such on that such and such moment. So relationship never truly end. And knowing that it is normal that you might think about certain part of that relationship that you miss. What you do not want is to be impaired by that. It's normal for you to think about it, say around holiday or anniversary or what have you, but you don't want to be impaired. And when you are, so what if somebody having difficulties? If you are having difficulties, if you are having challenges, then a couple things about that. First of all, my heart's with you. And know that you are not alone. Oftentimes we feel so alone. If you ever have a feeling that you feel so alone and lonely while in the middle of a crowd, many times we can feel so alone when we're going through things. And so know that you are not alone. The second part is know that you are not broken. When we have a broken heart, many times we feel that we are broken, that we need fixing. And that as a person, you're broken. You need to be fixed, and you need somebody to fix your appearance, maybe even like plastic surgery and this and that. But know that you're not broken. Your heart might be broken, but you are not broken. And now what can you do with your broken heart? Just like if you have a broken leg, you try to help yourself and it's not helping, and your neighbors try to help you and it's not helping, you ask for professional help. Everybody has different needs, even within and professional help. There are different ways. I mentioned dance away sadness is one. The grief recovery method is another tools that I use, where you create graph and you create this different technique where allow you to complete and resolve different things. And then there are multiple different ways. So you ask for professional help. And if you have tried one or another professional help and it doesn't help, just like when you go to a doctor for an infection or a broken leg or something, you get second opinion. So, and you just do the same thing. You try it with one counselor and then a year passes by and you still have this challenge, then look for somebody else. It's not that the person in common or anything. It's just everybody different, and sometimes you just need like a puzzle, like right. Sometimes feel like a little bit like a puzzle. You just need to find the right fit, and so it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just everybody's so different, and so that's also the basic step that when you are facing a loss, that you continue having you difficulty, but know that you're not alone, and know that you are not broken. It's normal to feel abnormal when things are happening, as Dr. Viktor Frankl says in his book Man's Search for Meanings.
Dr. Bigger, I agree with you. It is normal to actually face whatever you're facing. Sometimes people can go to fear, sometimes people can go to a long sadness and a shock, like I did. I went to a shock, not sadness. I wasn't really sad. I was really shocked that life, it can be just like that, because you know, when you are close to someone, my dad was my best friend, and but then I had to ask myself that I think using my beliefs as a Christian, reading the Bible, it helped me. Although I went to 3 different psychologists, and although they were trying to help me, but I think when I left them, I didn't get it, the healing. But then when I actually used the biblical reading scriptures, it actually helped me to actually realize that, to let go with inside of me, to let go that pain that I was holding all that time. And using your beliefs sometimes can help you as well. And like what you were saying, not letting people tell you how you should grieve as well is very, very important, to be aware of your feelings. And also it's very, very important not to stay in too long and making excuses to say I am this because of the death of my father, or because of the death of what. So it is very, very important, you know, as a coach, that is very, very important to actually work on yourself and accept,
Yeah.
just welcome those news. It
Yes.
might take time, but what helps me was the memories and letting go of some things that I didn't, because what came over and over and over was me talking to my dad, him telling me goodbye, Nomsa. It was like there is no other way, because me and my dad, we always tell each other, be honest with each other. So he was like, I wish there was something else that I can use, that I can tell you, but there's nothing else I can say to you. All I can say is goodbye. And telling me how much he loved me and how much I meant to him. I think that helped me as well, but I chose to hold on to goodbye. And I was like, why did you have to say goodbye?
Right.
And then in the end, I decided to let it go. One day I woke up and I was like, I'm no longer wanting to hold this anymore. Yeah, it's actually amazing how things work. You know, like sometimes you keep feeling this feeling, and then I woke up one day, basically I look at myself in front of the mirror, and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I felt that there was this cloud that was inside my heart, that was somebody was pulling it out. And it was so painful. That pain was so much, it was too much to bear. And then that was it. I had to let it go. But I was lucky because when I'm going through something, I never go to depression, because I talk about it. And I talk about it to the right people, which is the professional. I never, because my family will comfort me and tell me what I need to hear. And then I end up staying in that place. So what I intend to do is, when I don't feel too good, I've always have somebody professional to talk to, because when you speak to professionals, they're not gonna judge you. They're not gonna tell you that you shouldn't feel that way. They're not going to make your feelings wrong. They're just gonna keep helping you until you find that breakthrough. And also what I did, I know some people might say, but what if you can't afford a professional? There are some psychologists, actually you can find them online. Those who are finishing their courses, sometimes they want to offer free training, like they want to offer free counseling, so they can give you 10 weeks of counseling for free, because they are under a university. So and that it helps. And I didn't know, I found somebody myself when I was looking for a paid psychologist, and this person, she was charging less, and she wasn't free, but she was charging less. And I went and saw her, and then I went and saw somebody else. I paid. Then I went and saw somebody else. I didn't get it. Nothing happened. I was still feeling, I was getting okay. And then after that, I'll feel really, I think he was dealing with my divorce and dealing with losing my stepdad and my dad. And just one day, I just go up and felt the pain, and then the pain decided to go away. So I think what you're saying basically let the process take its place. I believe
Well,
it.
let the process take its place. And also there is something with the Grief Recovery Institute and Grief Recovery Method that we say with the one couple things that you mentioned. The first is, yes, let the process take its place. And at the same time, there is something we call the 1% responsibility. So in other words, yes, things might be happening in the most horrendous way that you could imagine. And at the same time, you choose from that day on how you're going to be and how long you want to be in this discomfort. And so, yes, everybody has different speed, different journey, different process. And at the same time, we have one time a, 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 a lady whose son was killed right before his 18th birthday by a drunk driver. And that is such that, it's like, what are you gonna do with that? And it's there is no way under the sun that could be her fault. It's or anything. It's not. It was a drunk driver, and so in that scenario, sometimes it's very easy for us to say, "Well, this happened to me, and therefore I am trapped in this grief." With this person, it was 15 years. And when she finally came to the grief recovery method, we said, you know what? Yes, this happened to you. This is all happened. And at the same time, like you said, Numsa, you take the 1% responsibility, which is you choose and decide from today on how you want to be next month and how do you want to be next year. Do you want to still be in this, or do you want to take the action that will allow you to be out of this? And that leads to the second part, which is you say something in the vicinity. For some of us, we choose to say goodbye, and some of us, like you said, you were hanging on to, you want to remember this memory and that memory and don't want to say goodbye. There's also an option of yes and, there is this is something a lot of time people come to me and say, I don't want to say goodbye because I want to still remember her in such a way, and I want to still remember him in such a way, and therefore you're not able to say goodbye because you feel that you're going to betray the person. And that's not necessarily it that way. It could be everybody's different, but there's also an option of a yes and, where you say, okay, I'm saying goodbye, and at the same time, I choose to say goodbye and complete such that you can move on in peace and I can continue and move forward in peace. And I'm choosing at the same time to continue to remember and to cherish and to honor as an expressions of love of what it is that's the beautiful memory of that we have together. And so yes, you complete and you continue to remember. There's nothing wrong with remembering. Just like relationship never ends, memories will come, and you can choose to say, I'm going to be sad because it's Christmas, or I'm going to remember the beautiful memory. And our loved one want to be loved and to be honored. And one way to love and honor them is to remember the beautiful memory. Nobody want to be remembered in a sad way. And so when you love somebody, it's normal to be sad when your loved one's no longer here. And it is also up to you to choose to remember as much as you can the beautiful memory. What did grandma say on that Christmas? The cookies grandmas always do, and how can I can I make these cookies now? What did my former significant, my late spouse says about this? And remember the beautiful part. And so there is, there is an option of being complete but not forgetting, and and there are a lot of these. We coming close to the time we have in here. There are a lot more tip of this in the book that I have, Seeking Peace here. This book shares a lot more on how to process when things going through, as well as to actually some part of that shares on how you can prepare for life, because life is life, as you say, we never know. And of course, I'm available to reach out to you if you want to reach out. And as you share here now, there are free resource. There are a lot of free resource online nowadays. There are professionals that provide free service, and at the same time, if you tried those and it doesn't work, just know sometimes the saying is true: what you got, what you pay for. So it is sometimes very true. You got what you pay for, and sometimes you want to choose to invest in yourself and in your future and the future of your loved one, because if you're feeling bad, it's not only affecting you, it's affecting your loved one and everyone else is around you.
That is so true. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bigot. It's been an amazing chat, and I've been taking some notes as well. It's been really, really amazing. And thank you for actually, if anyone wants to get in touch with Dr. Bigot, I'm not a professional when it comes to death. I get scared. So please do not get in touch with me. Although I'm a coach, but I'm not a death coach. I'm not a grieving coach. So Dr. Bigot is her expertise, but you can get in touch with me to connect you with her. Not saying, Nomsa, let's talk about death. No, I'll be running. I'll be running. So I think it makes you appreciate. I appreciate my mom a lot, basically, because I lost my step parents and I lost my dad. So losing someone, it makes you appreciate what you have, which is what I have now is my mom. My mom, she's my mom dead now. So I appreciate her a lot. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Bigot. If anyone, you're going through something, the grieving, or even if you feel that you don't want to talk to someone, just know that whatever you decide, like Dr. Bigot says, your feelings are your choice. You can choose how you feel, and you can get in touch with the professional. She's one of the grieving coach. You can get in touch with her through Ngozi talk shows on our page. You're going through something, and just ask for half an hour free consultation. And that free consultation is to basically to decide whether you and her are gonna get along and moving forward. So thank you so much, everyone, and live with grace, and God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. We are here Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. and at Ngozi Talk Shows. And if you're watching this later, press some heart button and share some love with your loved ones.
Thank you, Nomsa.